Your immediate reaction to this trade?
Well, I'm kind of surprised by it. But again, you're talking about a credible general manager in Sam Presti. He's going to prepare for the future. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of faith in Russell Westbrook. But if this is just a one-year rental and Paul George decides to leave, then you're talking about Oklahoma City rebuilding and positioning themselves to do that. In the case of the Indiana Pacers, you want a guard in Oladipo who's no scrub, who can play, who's capable of averaging 18 to 20 a night. And so you look at it from that standpoint, along with the young promising prospect that Sabonis appears to be, and you can understand why a move like this is made. But ultimately, you would expect more for Paul George. The problem is he really put the Indiana Pacers in a pinch by making sure he announced to everybody that he had every intentions of leaving Indiana, because since everybody knew that he was going to leave after this year, Indiana was forced to have to make something happen now, as opposed to waiting until the NBA's trading deadline or even until next summer for something to transpire. So they've been in a bind because of that, and I guess they felt this was the best they could do.
Stephen A., Golden State, obviously still the top dog in all the NBA. Depending on what happens with their conversation with Andre Iguodala, San Antonio could potentially get stronger here. We know Houston already has. Where does this move put Oklahoma City now in the West?
Personally speaking, I think it still puts them somewhere between the fourth and the fifth slot within the Western Conference, quite possibly a berth to the second round of the NBA playoffs within the Western Conference. Again, if they're a fifth seed, they're playing a fourth seed. Anything could happen at that particular moment in time, but that's really all that I see. I don't view Oklahoma City as a powerhouse just because they have Russell Westbrook and Paul George. I think it's going to take a hell of a lot more than that to beat a San Antonio, to beat a Golden State Warriors, obviously. They could hang with a few of the other teams. I mean, again, you got Houston with James Harden and CP3. Melo's trying to get there if he can't make something happen with Cleveland. So you have to take that into consideration. And then from there, you're talking about Oklahoma City and a bunch of other squads fighting for the fourth seed and beyond. So, at the very best, I think this helps advance them maybe an additional round, but that's about all.
Paul George, what's the latest there?
Yeah, Ramona Shelburne is all over this story. Paul George has been traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. We are still trying to determine what the pieces are here, but the impetus for this is Russell Westbrook. The Thunder were concerned that Westbrook would not sign an extension to his contract that they're ready to offer him tonight. Now they have Paul George to be able to offer to. It seems like they're going to be willing to roll the dice here and accept the chance of Paul George leaving after a year. But if that gets them, Russell Westbrook to re-sign into the fold, it may be worth it, and they become a more serious contender in the Western Conference. Really stunning. We did not hear Oklahoma City as an option for George throughout this process, but there was momentum towards another deal with Paul George this afternoon with Indiana. They have a lot of young pieces in Oklahoma City. We'll see which ones were contained in the deal. That's going to be key to evaluate it.
Yeah, Ramona just tweeted that she's hearing it's Oladipo and Sabonis, but here it is, a one-year rental with Paul George, considered, I don't know, top 12, depending on who you ask, player. But what do you think? You mentioned Russell Westbrook, but what's the line of thinking? You know the Oklahoma City front office. What's the line of thinking that they can get him in and both into their system and make it work long term?
Well, Oladipo does have a connection, obviously, to Indiana with playing at Indiana University, and that has some relevance in a place where they need to sell tickets. And I'm not so sure that the Thunder were thrilled with the contract extension that they gave Oladipo at the start of last season, which was around $80 million over the next 4 years. And it didn't look maybe as good after Oladipo's first season there. So they get off of that contract, and now if the worst happens and Westbrook doesn't extend and George walks, at least they have a clean salary cap sheet. This is an incredible use of assets by Sam Presti. We'll see if there's any draft picks in the deal. What's interesting here is that it's clear that Indiana didn't have a great offer. They get Oladipo on a long-term deal, like I said, that's sort of squishy in terms of its value right now, and Sabonis, who had a decent rookie year but certainly not a standout, didn't make the all-rookie teams. That's not a very impressive haul for Paul George, and I think that's indicative of the fact that the Pacers didn't have a lot of great offers.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do. Every weekday afternoon, Got a whole bunch of stuff to come your way this afternoon, this morning, West Coast time, of course. The great Joe Dumars, former executive extraordinaire for the Detroit Pistons, who got them to 6 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals appearances. Obviously, a 2-time champion with the Bad Boy Pistons in the 80s and a Hall of Famer. He will be in studio with yours truly. Looking forward to having a conversation with him about the things that have been transpiring. Lots of stuff to get into with that. We will certainly do that today. And obviously, the story of the day is the NBA draft. What angle do you want to pick? If you are the Los Angeles Lakers, you should be happy. You have Lonzo Ball. If you are the New York Knicks fan base, you should be disgusted. Not because this dude from France is a scrub. Not because he can't play. All projections point to him being a solid individual who's capable of starting for you for years to come. But there's no all-star predictions here. There's no future Hall of Fame predictions here. There's no superstar status here. And with the number 8 overall pick, whereas you don't get that, and the New York Knicks know that better than anybody because the number 8 pick they picked in the past was Jordan Hill, a pick right after Steph Curry. We understand that it doesn't work out that way sometimes. We get it. We understand it. We accept it. But the fact that the Zen master, Phil Jackson, is the one making this pick, the same Phil Jackson that doesn't take road trips, the same Phil Jackson that barely scouts, the same Phil Jackson that was nowhere to be found during the NCAA tournament while Magic Johnson and others were out there scouting. As a matter of fact, I take that back. Phil Jackson could be found because while Magic Johnson was out scouting during the NCAA tournament when Kentucky with De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk and Harry Giles, well, not Harry Giles because he's out of Duke, but Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox was scheduled to go up against Lonzo Ball for UCLA, and Magic Johnson was there in attendance. Phil Jackson was in L.A. for Shaq's statue ceremony, conveniently sitting next to his ex-fiancée, Jeannie Buss. But those are the road trips that Phil Jackson makes, which is out to L.A. Or you can catch him in a New York Knicks game, trying to coach from the stands for crying out loud. And somehow, some way, we're supposed to believe that this man is scouting some dude in France. We're supposed to believe that Phil Jackson knows about some dude from France when he barely knows about a dude from Kentucky or UCLA or Duke. I mean, you got to be kidding me. But let me get on a higher note and get into Lonzo Ball, because I'm happy that he got picked. I'm happy that LaVar Ball's proclamations were validated when Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers picked his son Lonzo Ball with the number 2 overall pick in this year's NBA draft. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Lonzo Ball is box office for the Lakers. If it were anybody else, I'm thinking De'Aaron Fox. I'm thinking Josh Jackson. But for the Los Angeles Lakers, to me, you could only make one call. And that call had to be Lonzo Ball. Because let's face it, the Los Angeles Lakers have been a disaster. And they've been a disaster because of Jim Buss and Jeannie Buss for allowing Jim Buss to be that disaster. And you could throw Mitch Kupchak in there too, signing Timothy Mozgov and Luol Deng to those ridiculous contracts in an effort to save his damn job, and it didn't work. And I respect the hell out of Mitch Kupchak. I personally would not have minded had he stayed the GM with Magic as president. Personally, I'm not hating on Rob Pelinka at all. I respect the man. But Mitch Kupchak was there for the ages, and I think Mitch Kupchak just bet on the wrong horse. No pun intended, considering Jim Buss's background with horses. Mitch Kupchak bet on the wrong horse. He sided with Jimmy instead of Jeannie. Or he gravitated to Jimmy instead of Jeannie, and it cost him. And so as a result, you've got Magic and Rob Pelinka up in there. And if you're Magic Johnson, if there was ever an individual that deserved the benefit of the doubt when it comes to a point guard, it is Earvin Magic Johnson. He is a basketball savant, ladies and gentlemen. And if he believes in Lonzo Ball, you should believe in Lonzo Ball, because he makes me believe in Lonzo Ball. That simple. Unapologetically, I will state that. But let me be the first to say, if you're Magic Johnson, your work has just begun. once you acquired the number 2 overall pick, knowing that Boston didn't need Alonzo Ball, this was a gimme. It was obvious who you should draft, and you did it. Now, what you going to do in free agency? These are important questions, ladies and gentlemen. These kind of questions matter. Because if you are Irvin Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers, your work hasn't stopped. It's just begun. And it's not just to build a team. It's to build star power. Because these are the Lakers. That purple and gold. Those lights dimming and darkening. That Showtime ambiance that takes place whenever the Lakers are playing at Staples Center. That is what has been missing. That is what Magic Johnson brought to the Los Angeles Lakers. That's the reason Jack Kent Cooke and the Los Angeles Lakers, long before the Busters ever owned the Lakers, drafted Magic Johnson instead of a guy like Sidney Moncrief. Moncrief coming out of college was incredibly solid. Incredibly solid. Was a steady force. Could play on both ends of the floor. Could score and could defend. And Jack Kent Cooke said, hell no. I need Showtime. I need that dude with that magnetic smile who is about pushing the ball up the floor. And when I got Worthy on one wing and Norm Nixon on another, and then after Norm Nixon, his successor Byron Scott with Michael Cooper trailing. Or if I got to slow it up and give it to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, so be it. It's a Showtime. This is what it's all about. That was Irvin Magic Johnson. And that is what Irvin Magic Johnson is assuming Lonzo Ball is going to bring to the table. But who do you have on the wing? Jordan Clarkson? I like him, but come on now. Julius Randle, who still needs to learn to be ambidextrous instead of using his left hand all the time. Larry Nance Jr., who can dunk, but we haven't seen much else that he could do. Luol Deng, who's about 33, looking like he's 60. Because of the minutes that he's played and the mileage he's put on his body. Still a place for him, but come on now. You Lonzo Ball with those ball handling and passing abilities, you need somebody to get the ball too, which is why if you're Magic Johnson, you do not wait. You do not wait. You go and you get Paul George right now. You do not wait until next summer. You do not play around. You do not assume that just because this man told you he wants to be a Laker and he's going to be a Laker, that he's going to be true to that commitment that he made. And you know the number one reason you can't do that? Jerry West. That's why. This ain't Phil Jackson we're talking about with his novice executive self. Don't know how to do anything as an executive as far as I'm concerned with his novice self. This is Jerry West. He may be 79 years of age, approaching 80. But looks good, seems in good health. And more importantly than anything else, this man, the great Jerry West, is arguably the greatest executive we have seen in the NBA. Irvin Magic Johnson. That is your competition at this moment in time. An absolutely brilliant move by Steve Ballmer and Doc Rivers to bring him on board.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Let me give props to some other folk who I think had a good draft. When I think about Sacramento with the number 5 pick of De'Aaron Fox, and I look at Sacramento with the number 15th pick of Justin Jackson, and the number 20th pick with Harry Giles, assuming he could be healthy, I got to tell y'all something. This is not bad. This is not bad at all. Good evening for the Sacramento Kings. The Lakers drafting Lonzo Ball and then getting Josh Hart out of Villanova, that wasn't bad. The Mavericks getting Dennis Smith Jr., who I wanted the Knicks to grab. He ends up a pick late at number 9. Boy, if Phil Jackson. Let me tell you something. Dennis Smith at number 9. Zach Collins out of Gonzaga. Remember how he performed in the Final Four? For Gonzaga, this 7-foot freshman, how he can play? Remember Malik Monk for Kentucky and how he can put the ball in the hole? Michael Jordan and the Charlotte Hornets. I have no problem with what I'm seeing them do. I must confess to you about that right now. To get to Dwight Howard and then to grab a Malik Monk too, I got to tell you something. That's not bad. I like Malik Monk. This brother can play. He really, really, really can play. And I got to tell you something right now. If he can put the ball with him and Kemba Walker, you got some offensive firepower. I can tell you that. You definitely got some offensive firepower. You can't ignore that. Be clear. Be very, very clear. You got to pay attention to all of that. Because I'm of the mindset right now, when I look at the Charlotte Hornets, I like what I'm seeing. And I like Malik Monk. I wish the Knicks had got him. I tell you, boy, I just hope that I'm wrong. I would give anything to be wrong about Phil Jackson. But I'm just not high on what I'm seeing him do right now, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not moving me, man. It's just not moving me. I got to tell you that. I really, really, really got to tell you that. But we shall see. Bam Adebayo out of Kentucky. The Heat got him. I don't know too much about this kid. I really, really don't. We'll see. Kid DJ Wilson, Milwaukee, I don't know. Anunoby out of Indiana. Is that how you pronounce his name? I like him. That's a good pickup by the Toronto Raptors and Masai at 23. I really like him. We'll see, y'all. We'll see. Who did y'all like? Who do you think had the best draft out of any team? And don't you worry, I'll get into Jimmy Butler and the Chicago Bulls and how the hell they look giving away Jimmy Butler. Don't you worry about that. 866-729-ESPN. To the phones we go. Suge, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
What's going on, Stephen A?
Talk to me, man.
I was watching the draft yesterday. It was a good draft for everybody, I think. But your Knicks, man, you on point with that. I don't know what to say about that. That's a catastrophe right now.
Oh,
but.
Lord, man. Don't rub it in, man. Don't rub it in, man. Go ahead.
Okay, you right. Okay, check this out, Stephen A. I was checking out First Take today, watch it every morning. You had Joe on there, and I was wanting to know, because I'm from Michigan, so you know I'm on the Pistons. Do you think that cloud about that pick that he did, do you think that's the reason he not getting no calls?
What are you talking about?
About the Darko Milicic. Do you think that's lingering over him a little bit?
No. That's not what it is at all. There's some personal stuff going on between him and some of the owners, and I think that has something to do with it, not Darko Milicic personally. That's not why Joe Dumars is not getting calls, but we'll talk to him about some things in a few minutes, because he'll be on sitting right next to me in just a few minutes right now. By the way, your boy Andre Drummond, he and Stan Van Gundy don't get along at all from what I'm hearing. Drummond can't stand him. That's why he wants out. So it's going to be real interesting to see what happens in Detroit in the coming days and weeks. Make no mistake about it. Pay attention to that as we move forward. Thanks a lot for the call, Suge. Appreciate it. Raymond in Queens, talk to me.
Yeah, good afternoon, bro. How you doing?
All right. Go talk to me, my man. How's everything?
I'm good. I just got one thing to say, man. If I'm Carmelo Anthony, man, I'm on the first thing smoking, man. By the trading deadline, get me out of here. This is just a total disaster over there. It's a dumpster fire. Like you said, Phil Jackson, I don't know what in the world he's doing. I feel like Carmelo Anthony just wasted the last 2 to 3 seasons of his career in New York with this dude, man. I was so disappointed last night, man. I don't even know what to say, Steve, man. But that's just basically what I want. That's all I want to say, man.
Listen. I got to blame Melo for that too, because Melo likes his money and Melo likes being connected with money. And the reality of the situation is clear. He's got his money, but Melo's got to want to win more, and he's got to make it uncomfortable for people to keep him around if they're not committed to winning, and he doesn't do that well enough. And I love Melo. You know I love Melo. You know how much love I got for Melo. But he really, really, really has to step up and be more assertive and more aggressive in his willingness to win, instead of just being in situations where he knows he's going to get paid.
Yeah, you're right about that, and that's why I'm thinking to myself, like, what is he sticking around for now? Like, you got the player option. That's basically the ball is in your court because Phil Jackson doesn't like you. He really doesn't want you there. So if I'm him, I'm making it public. Like, I'm just going to get kind of public with it over the next month or two and be like, yo, I want out of here. Like, get me away from this dude. What is he doing? He's getting paid to do absolutely nothing.
I feel you. I feel you on that, my man. Thank you so much. Appreciate the call.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it. It is my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line with me right now. I shouldn't say on the line. He's sitting right next to me. Former executive of the year, two-time executive of the year, guided the Detroit Pistons to 6 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals appearances, plus an NBA championship, 2 NBA Finals appearances, and that was just as an executive. As a player, 2-time champion, and a Hall of Famer. The one and only Joe D, as in Joe Dumars, is sitting right next to me. Big Time, what's going on, man? How you doing, man?
All good, man. Happy first time here in the studio with you. Glad to be here. This is nice.
What has life been like for you since you've been away from the NBA as an executive?
So life has been really doing stuff that I have not been able to do for years. Mm-hmm. Like I actually a couple years ago was at home in Louisiana for Christmas at my mom's house.
Wow.
The last time that happened, I was a senior in high school.
Wow.
In high school was the last time I was in Louisiana for Christmas. What I've been doing is my son played over in Germany. I went and spent a couple of months in Bamberg, Germany with my son and traveled all over Europe.
Wow.
My daughter is in law school at Pepperdine.
Mm-hmm.
That's not hard. Right. It's easy to go out to Malibu. That's the easy part. So,
I heard that she told you. Yeah. I heard you thought she was going to Fordham or something in New York. She went out to Malibu and it just changed up thought, right?
I was in Europe then. She called me. She said, Dad, that's been a change. What you talking about, baby? What's the change? I don't want to go to Fordham. Well, what's the problem? I want to go to Malibu. I said, okay. Okay, Daddy understands.
That's right. So you look at this now, man. I mean, just looking at this draft that took place last night. Number one, how much did you miss it? Number two, what did you peel from last night's draft?
Okay, let me answer the first question. I miss it enough where when the right situation comes, I'm ready to roll.
Okay.
Ready to roll. Last night, did you say what appealed to me?
What appealed to you as you look at these picks? I mean, anybody stand out in your mind and you said this could be special?
So there are drafts that you go through and you look at the draft. Let's say you're involved in the draft. You're running a team. Right. You look at the draft and you look around the room and you go to your people, that small group of people you're with, you go, damn, this is not a strong draft. Mm-hmm. And so, you at that point, you're just saying, maybe we can get a good rotation guy out of this draft.
Right.
Maybe it's just not but last night, I looked at that draft and I said, okay, there are some starters and some all-stars in this draft. Mm-hmm. And for me, I looked at it and said, some good players in this draft, man. This is not going to be one of those drafts you look back on and say it was a weak draft. Mm-hmm. It's a good draft, man.
A particular player stand out in your mind where you look at him in concert with the team that picked him and said, this is going to be special.
Okay, so yes. Okay, so I think that I can go maybe the top 5 or 6 picks and tell you just real quickly this. Markelle Fultz, what's great about him going to Philly is this. He's not going to a team that's so decimated. It's just all about him carrying the entire franchise. Mm-hmm. They really got a franchise player already in the big kid, Embiid.
Ben Simmons,
and then
Embiid
too. So for him, a guy like him going to a team like that, awesome, great for him. The second pick, Lonzo, probably the toughest spot for him. You're home, you got Pops, and the team is not there yet. You understand what I'm saying? Like the team is not really there yet.
But what does it say that Magic Johnson picked you as a point guard? It's like a shooting guard coming out of the draft, right? Yeah. That plays both ends, and Joe Dumars picked him. Yeah. That says a lot.
What it says to me is, I trust Magic's opinion about this.
Right.
You can't get me off of Magic on this.
That's right.
I know that Magic knows that position, and he knows what he's looking at with this kid. What I'm saying is the surrounding pieces, though. He needs guys that can put that ball in the basket. They have to continue to put that around him because he's a passer first. You know what I mean? He's like a Jason Kidd, like a Magic type guy. He's not looking to go out and get 30.
Do you, if you're Magic Johnson, now that you have Alonzo Ball and you moved D'Angelo Russell to Brooklyn, do you go out and prioritize getting Paul George now? Or because he promised you this is where he wants to be, which is L.A. next summer, do you let him be a one-year rental for somebody else and then wait to get him for nothing? Do you take that chance or do you pursue him now, Joe Dumars?
It's all about how much Indiana is asking for.
Okay.
If they're trying to clean my clock, right? For me to get Paul George, I'll wait. I'm not going to let you rip my team apart to get him. If it's a deal I can live with, get him now. Don't wait. Get him now if you can. But don't give up the house.
But help me out. What's the house? Julius Randle.
Okay.
All right. Luau Deng.
I don't know what their picks
Larry
are.
Nance Jr.
I'm talking about their picks.
Yeah, I got you. Because what I'm saying to you is this. The Lakers had like the 30th pick, I believe, or what have you. I think right now, what did they pick here? They picked at number 27, this kid out of Utah, and they picked at number 30. So I guess you could have had those couple of picks. You got the players that are on their roster. I'm wondering, I'm asking a generic question, considering the way the Lakers have struggled, considering how they've been bereft of talent to some degree in the eyes of some of us. To me, what is the house?
Right. The house probably for them is probably the future picks.
Okay.
Like future first round picks and whatever.
Gotcha.
And like, okay, so here's the house. So if you're Brooklyn and it's, I don't know, 4 years ago or whatever, and you're making that trade for Garnett and
Garnett, Paul Pierce, and those boys.
And so people say, oh, they just gave up some first round picks. And it's the third pick in the draft right now.
That's right.
So when I say the house, sometimes it's not just the guy you're looking at on that team.
Right.
Man, how much would they like to have that third pick back tonight? You understand what I'm saying? So when we say the house, is not look beyond just the player sometimes.
Right.
Like, what are they asking for? Are they asking for two future first-round picks with no protection?
Right.
And something happens, a guy gets hurt, and that turns into the number one pick?
Fair.
You got to protect yourself on that end of it.
Fair enough. We're talking to the great Joe Dumars right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. New York Knicks draft this kid out of France, solid guard. Don't know if he's a definitive 1 or 2, but he's solid. Could be a starter. I think you need more than that from the 8th overall pick. If you're the New York Knicks, how did you feel about that?
The kid, I saw him. I've watched film on all of these kids. He probably was the one I watched the least amount of film on. So I don't know his game like that. I've watched him. He looks like a solid player. But, man, I'd be lying if I sit here and told you, hey, Stephen, he's going to be this or that. I don't know his game.
Only
like
reason
that.
I'm asking about that is because I think about who you passed on.
Okay.
You got Dennis Smith Jr. out of North Carolina State. Everybody's seen him. You got Zach Collins. We saw him in the Final Four for Gonzaga in the national championship game. You got Malik Monk, who was the next. These were the next 3 picks after you passed on those dudes to grab this kid out of France.
Let me go back to one you just named.
Okay.
Dennis Smith Jr.
Special.
Hey, man. Steve, man, this dude, man, I like this kid here. I liked him like in top 5 in terms of talent. Now, I don't know whatever issues people were whispering about with him, but I know this. Just in terms of raw talent, I think he was the best physical raw talent in this draft. I put him right up at the top. So I do like him an awful lot. You're asking me about which players I like.
Right.
I love his talent, man. And so, if you want to look at a guy, that's the guy you look at right there.
Let me change subjects before I let you get on out of here. And I'm going to get a little personal because I've known you for many, many years and all the conversations that you and I, because I talk to the Hall of Famers because y'all know basketball.
Absolutely.
Damn it, y'all know basketball better than
We've
me,
been
okay?
talking for years.
You're talking for years and years and years.
Man.
I've always been on the record. I got a problem with the fact that people have not been kicking in your door for you to be an executive in this league. I know they hold the Darko Milicic pick against you. I will come to your defense in this regard. Even though Melo Bosh and Wade were after.
Mm-hmm.
That season that you didn't pick Darko Milicic, it was because you had Tayshaun Prince and Rasheed Wallace and Benny Wallace and Rip Hamilton and Chauncey Billups, and you went to back-to-back NBA Finals the year you didn't pick Darko Milicic. People think that's being held against you. People think, oh, Lord knows, no, people wonder what else could possibly be held against you. But I like the fact that they think that because it says to me that it doesn't make any sense to them any more than it makes any sense to me why people aren't kicking down your door for you to be an executive in the NBA. Could you explain to my listeners why you think that you haven't found the right spot yet and why we don't hear more about your name? I know it's a hard position, but I'm asking.
It is, but I don't have the answer to that. That would be really hard for me to understand. That was almost 15 years ago, and the success we had since then was off the charts. So that was 15. Really, that's 2003, 14 years ago. And so 14 years ago, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Like, I have no idea the answer to that particular question. I do know this from my side, though. From my side, it has to be the right fit for me, too, though. It cannot just be anywhere, anybody.
What's the right fit for Joe Dumars?
Well, I think,
at this point in your life,
I think that it has to be somebody that truly believes in culture and believes in building a culture with people, and not just grabbing guys, throwing them together, and saying, "Okay, we have the right formula to win." I want somebody that's want to build an organization. Look, you want to work somewhere where people treat you like a human being.
Right.
You want to work somewhere, Stephen. You, yourself. Yeah. You want to work somewhere where you feel good about coming to work.
Absolutely.
I want to be in that environment. I want to work in that environment where the owner or whoever it is believes in those things
Does
too.
that environment, from a prevalent perspective, does it exist in the NBA today?
It still
or are you
exists.
concerned that there are too many places where it doesn't exist?
Well, I think it's more places now where that's not a priority. But there are still organizations out there that believe in building culture, and they're winning. And they're winning.
Yeah. Golden State, San Antonio.
They're being successful.
Cleveland's not a culture builder right now. It's up in the air right now.
Yeah,
and your boy Chauncey's about to get that job if he wants it.
Yeah, I don't know everything that's going on over there, but I do know this. I do know that places like Golden State and places like I'll tell you what, even places like Miami, when they have the talent, they're trying to build a culture.
Yes.
When the Knicks were really good, they're really good, they had a great culture.
Don't
there.
depress me.
You know
you're supposed to be my boy, Joe. I mean, come on, man. You're making me reminisce about 20 years ago, man.
I want you to feel good about it. I want you to remember
how can I feel good? Commit the miracle, Joe D. How can I feel good about anything with the New York Knicks right now? Tell me, throw me a mulligan, throw me a bone. Tell New Yorkers, tell any Knicks fans anywhere. How can we understand how we can feel good about the Lakers because Magic's there. Even if you want to feel good about the Clippers, Doc Rivers and Jerry West is there. With the New York Knicks, we got Brooklyn and we got the Knicks. We got the Brooklyn Nets and we got Phil Jackson. How are we supposed to feel good, Joe D? Help us out.
There's going to be 41 home games at Madison Square Garden and 41 home games at in Brooklyn, and you can see them in person, fans.
There you go. My man. Love you, bro. Good seeing you, my man.
Thanks,
the great Joe D right here with Stephen A.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! You see, when you are an NBA insider, it's not just about the information. It's about when you expose it. It's about when you tell it. Because you got to protect your sources. Sometimes when you say something too soon, too early, everybody will know where you got it from. I mean, in the circle. And you don't want that. But I just received permission to say something that I had been hearing over the last couple of days. Okay? And listen. I'm I'm going to break. Nuno, stand up, because, I mean, you're going to be discussing John, or you're sitting down there, you're going to be very upset. You're going to be very upset. Cat Utah, I just got to tell y'all are not going to be happy. New Yorkers, you're not going to be happy. Let me tell you what happened. The New York Knicks were involved in a mega 5-team deal that would have sent Carmelo Anthony and Paul George to Cleveland. Both of them. And what nixed it up was A, Melo's hesitancy, and B, more importantly, nobody wanted to take Kevin Love's money. Now, I knew about this, but I had to make sure I had permission to say it. And I just received permission to say it. Melo and Paul George was going to end up in Cleveland. Both of them. But the combination of Griffin getting fired, along with Love's contract nobody wants, because I've been telling y'all for months the knee and the back have been issues with Kevin Love. The deal didn't happen. So now if you're New Yorkers, you might be stuck with Melo, even though I don't think that's going to happen. But if you are a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, you're sick to your stomach, because you could have been sitting here imagining no Kevin Love, but LeBron and Kyrie with Paul and Melo. Lord have mercy. That's what you could have had. I didn't want to tell it to everybody because I didn't want to hurt y'all feelings, but that was what was going to happen. And nobody wanted to take Kevin Love's money. That's one element in all of this. That's one of the things that I had to tell y'all. Had to break it to y'all, break folks' hearts, but it's the truth. Secondly, this kid, Ntilikina, he's a two-way player. He can ball. He's not a scrub. He's solid. Dennis Smith Jr., I like him. Some stuff in his background. It's questionable. Phil thought about Malik Monk, but passed on him. Michael Jordan and Charlotte Hornets got him. We'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens. But I got to tell y'all, when you look at it, here's the bottom line. Los Angeles Lakers got a lot to be happy about. New York Knicks, not so much. It appears to be an upside. Phil was not going to trade Porzingis. He just wanted to test his value. There's something else I needed to tell you. Nuno, stand up, damn it. Stand up. Melo and George was one trade. Guess who the San Antonio Spurs called? The New York Knicks. And said they were willing to move Kawhi Leonard and clean house. But then they stepped back from it and changed their minds. These are all the things that I knew over the last couple of days. I couldn't say it.